Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Dee. Brandon had to leave, had to cut out a little early, so I'm gonna finish the reactions by myself. This video I'm about to react to is a Shane Dawson video. This one is Scariest Unsolved Murders. We did a few of Shane's videos before. We like him, he's funny, and his videos are actually pretty interesting. So yeah, I want to see what these unsolved murders are, so let's watch.
Hey, what's up you guys? Yes, today we're going to be doing another creepy video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about some of the scariest unsolved murders of all time. So first we're going to be talking about a murder that was so shocking and so graphic that it actually inspired a movie, and that movie is The Strangers.
Oh, I heard about this. I saw this movie, but I heard it was a true story.
So The Strangers was a movie about a couple who were getting terrorized by three killers that were wearing masks. The guy was wearing a bag over his head, the girls were wearing these doll masks, and they were chasing around this couple through their house in the middle of the woods until they eventually tied them up and murdered them. Now when I saw this movie, I was shocked. It was so intense and so graphic and just so insane to even think about that happening, and I did not know it was based on a true story. The Strangers is based on the Keddie murders. So Keddie is an area in the middle of the woods in California that has an extremely low population. I think it's literally like 66 people. And in Keddie there are cabins, and each cabin is kind of far from the next one. So if something bad happens, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Well, one night on April 11th, 1981, something really bad did happen. And it happened in Cabin 28. A woman named Glennis Sharp was renting Cabin 28 with her 5 children. One night she was home with her 2 youngest sons and one of her son's friends. One of her daughters had been gone for the night. Well, the next morning her oldest daughter Sheila came home from hanging out at her friend's house, and what she found changed her life forever. In the cabin were 3 bodies dead on the floor. Her mother, her young brother, and his friend. And her younger sister Tina, who was 12 years old, was nowhere to be found. Now the way the bodies were is very graphic, so I'm warning you, it's a lot. Their bodies were bound and tied up with medical tape and appliance wires. They were stabbed, bludgeoned with big objects like bats and pots and pans, and they were also strangled. The mother and the son had been stabbed repeatedly while they were tied up.
There was blood. There was blood on the car, on Sue's car. There was blood on the back stairs. There was blood on the back door.
There was a lot of weapons found at the crime scene, including a table knife, a butcher's knife, and a bloody hammer. And to this day, the murderers were never found. Nobody knows who did it. Now, there were a few suspects. There was a man named Bo Boded, who was a supposed hitman, and there was a man named Marty Smart. Now, even though there was a lot of evidence to show that these 2 guys might have done it, they were not put in jail. Now, you're probably wondering what happened to the little sister, Tina, who was missing. 4 years later, she was found. 29 miles away from the cabin, 3 years after the murder, Tina's skull was found in the woods. So years later in 2004, Cabin 28 was demolished along with a few other condemned buildings. But before it was torn down, a lot of people went to the cabin and filmed their experiences. They said they felt ghosts there, they felt presence. Also, a lot of psychics went there and said that they could talk to the victims and that they knew who the murderers were. Just check out this video of a psychic at Cabin 28.
They knew them, they really want you to know they knew them.
He said across the street from my house, going like this to me.
Oh my.
You're next.
She's so angry, she is so angry. Until you find them, until she wants them murdered, she wants to torture them.
Now the oldest daughter, Sheila, is grown up now, and she has been talking about her childhood and what happened to her. Just last year, she did an interview talking about what it was like to walk into her house and see her family murdered, and how it's fucked her up.
Yeah, that's traumatizing.
Sad.
I think one of the main things I have a hard time with is getting close to people, you know, for fear that something's going to happen. And I know I always look around. I'm more cautious of my surroundings.
Okay, now this next murder literally sounds like a movie. And
this is why you can't live in the middle of nowhere.
This is the 1932 Atlas vampire murder. Back in 1932, there was a 32-year-old prostitute named Lily Lindstrom. She would take her clients back to her apartment building and have sex with them, which was very common. There was a lot of other prostitutes doing the same thing in the building. Well, one night, Lily went missing. Her downstairs neighbor, Minnie Jensen, is the one who noticed this because she was a prostitute too, and she went downstairs to borrow some condoms, and realized that Lily was gone. Well, she alerted the police and they went to Lily's apartment, and what they found was gruesome. Lily's body was face down on her bed. She was completely naked and she had been dead for 2 to 3 days. The police believe that she had just had sex before she died because there was a used condom found in her anus. They said the cause of death was that somebody hit her over the head multiple times and killed her. And this is where it gets really fucked up. They said that her blood had been drained from her body and there was a teeth mark on her neck. Now, the police questioned all of Lily's clients and none of them had any information, and they were all like, "Ooh." To this day, nobody knows who killed her. And also, there's a fucking vampire out there. That really happened. Fuck. Okay, now this next story is a lot, so stay with me. But this involves a satanic cult and the murder of 2 teenagers. Okay, so first let's talk about the victims. Sally McNally and Shane Stewart. Now, Sally and Shane were teenagers who were in love. So in love that Shane ignored some weird things that were going on with Sally. Now, Sally had some very interesting friends, and she introduced her boyfriend to them. Now, just to put in perspective how interesting these friends were, this is something that happened to Sally at a party that her friend talked about. Her friend Helen said that she was invited to one of Sally's parties. She said that Sally went into a trance. She said it was really scary and that it felt like a ritual. Well, Sally brought Shane into her friend group, and then things got fucked up. Well, the group of friends were into some really messed up shit. There was drugs, there was group sex, there was also guns and weapons. Things that were going on in this friend group were starting to look a lot like a satanic cult. Well, in March of 1988, Shane and Sally wanted to get away from this group of friends. They were given a gun by one of the people in their group, and the person said that the gun had been used in a robbery and a murder. Well, Sally called the police and turned in the gun, and then they both left the group. 4 months later, they both were reported missing. Now, in June, a month before they were missing, Sally had called her friend Helen, the one who went to the party with her, and was like freaked out. She told Helen that she thought somebody was trying to kill her for leaving the group. Well, Helen told her, "Hey, I'm sure everything's gonna be okay. Maybe you're over-exaggerating, like, you just need to calm down." And then a month later, she was missing. Well, 4 months later, on November 11th of 1988, Sally's body was found. And then 3 days later, Shane's body was found. Both of them had been shot in the head. Now, to this day, nobody knows who did it, but the police think that it was the group of friends. They think that the cult,
it seems like it.
but they think that witnesses that might have been in the group are too scared to come forward and admit it. So, we'll never know. Now, this next thing isn't really an unsolved murder, but it kind of falls in the category because it's very mysterious and very scary. And this involves the Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. Now, as a lot of you guys know, on July 17th, 2014, the flight was shot down. 283 passengers were killed and 15 crew members were killed. Now, the reasons for why the plane was shot down are a little sketchy and a little confusing, and too much to get into in this video, but very mysterious. Now, before the flight took off, one of the passengers took a picture of the plane, like outside the window. He posted the picture on his Facebook, and he said this: "If it disappears, this is what it looks like." And then the plane took off, and then it was shot down, and he died. I don't know, for some reason that one really gives me the chills. I mean, just the fact that he made a joke, but it turned out to be real, very scary. Okay, so this next murder really freaks me out because, number one, I'm terrified of ships and boats anyways, and this just makes it worse. This is the murder and disappearance of Amy Bradley. So Amy Bradley was on a Caribbean cruise with her family. She left her room at 5:30 a.m. to go smoke, and then she disappeared. Now, when she went missing, the ship handled it very strangely. Number one, even though the parents reported her missing early in the morning, nobody on the ship did anything until after 8 a.m. They also didn't send out a big announcement over the PA system because they didn't want to wake anybody up. Now, before she disappeared, Amy had told her parents that the crew on the ship was being really creepy with her. She said they were giving her creepy looks, they were asking her if she wanted to come ashore with them and hang out alone. One witness claimed that Amy was hanging out with one of the bass players on the ship, and that he and her went off alone together on shore, but only the bass player came back. And this is where it gets fucking creepy. Amy's brother, who was on the ship too, talked to the bass player, The bass player went up to her brother and said, "I'm so sorry for what happened to your sister and the fact that she disappeared. I hope they find her." The only thing is, nobody knew she had disappeared yet. Nobody on the ship knew, her family didn't know, her brother didn't know. So how the fuck did he know? Well, the night before, when Amy was hanging out with the bass player and they were all like, you know, having dinner and hanging out with the crew, they were taking pictures. And the pictures were posted on a board in like the common area. Well, the next morning, when Amy went missing, the mom went to grab the pictures to like see who Amy was hanging out with that night, and all the pictures had been taken down. Now this is where it gets really sad. Since her disappearance, people on the Caribbean islands have said that they've seen Amy walking around the island. They even describe her with very specific tattoos that nobody would know about. So that makes the police think that she was sold into sex slavery. Now this leads to the theory that the cruise ship was actually a cover-up, and that there were people on the ship and on the crew pointing out girls for people to come, grab, take, and sell into sex slavery. And since 1995, hundreds of women have gone missing on cruise ships. That one is heartbreaking and just, I can't even explain the feelings I'm having. But it also just proves that this is very, very real. This shit happens. Please be alert. And if you notice anything strange, please report it to police and keep your distance. Okay, so this last murder is probably the most eerie. This is the murder and the Twitter account of Bill Cummins. On January 7th of 1980, Bill Cummins was 14 years old. Bill was walking home from a party and then he went missing. Around 9 p.m., only a few blocks from his house, his dead body was found in the snow, strangled by his own winter scarf. And to this day, the killer has never been found. Now, his younger sister's name was Kathleen, and she was 8 years old when her brother died. Well, Kathleen has grown up, and now she has a Twitter account that has Bill Cummins as the name, and she tweets for him. Now, the reason she's tweeting is because she wants to bring light to this case and make sure that people know that the killer has still not been found. But the tweets are still very eerie. Here's just some of the things that Bill tweets. "They tried to silence me 34 years ago, but I'm louder than ever. You killed me and got away with murder for 34 years. I know you're reading this. It's time. Confess. I forgive you. I forgive you, Bill. You strangled me to death. It hurt and I was scared until my eyes opened in heaven. 34 years ago today, I was murdered. I was 14 and had my entire life to live. My family is still looking for my killer. My last meal was half a bowl of ice cream. I put it in the freezer so I could go get my sister. That bowl stayed in our freezer for 3 years. I don't know, there's something so like chilling about it. I mean, I know it's his sister and I know she's just trying to bring awareness, but I don't know, like reading those tweets and hearing it in the voice of a young boy who was murdered by somebody that has never been found, that's fucking intense. Well, there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed this creepy video. And once again, I hope that this is not disrespectful to any of the families that lost somebody. I just find this stuff interesting, and hopefully talking about it brings awareness to some of these cases, and hopefully we can find these murderers.
Yeah, that was really creepy. All of those stories were pretty creepy. Like, it's crazy. People are sick. People are fucking sick. They kill people just for the stupidest reasons, usually for nothing. But yeah, this is pretty scary. Let us know what y'all thought about it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.